It wouldn't seem like there would be much to talk about when it comes to rotating objects in InDesign, or really any software for that matter. But there are some key features I want to make sure that you pick up on. So for instance, if I wanted to, I'll start with a triangle, just rotate it at any given increment, just kind of eyeball it. I could select it, hover outside of one of the handles where I get the little curved double-headed pointer there, and click and drag, and then I can rotate it. If you can see it in the video, next to my pointer there's a little pop-out window that tells me to what degree I've rotated my object, so that I can rotate things visually that way. All right, I'll undo that. And the next way is there is an actual rotation tool. And so you think, well, if I can do that, why would I need a tool? Well, I'm going to press R on the keyboard to access it. And you notice that now, instead of just being able to rotate it, I can actually add an anchor point, so or a rotation point, if you will, an axis. So if I move it to the center, then obviously I'm going to rotate, basically around the center. But I can also move it, let's say in this case, this was down in, I don't know, the corner. And I wanted this point to stay in the corner. Well, I could, find that axis point. Where has he gone? Oh, he's still left behind. There he is. And move that over there, and then rotate around that as my rotation axis. So that's pretty handy. The other way is, if I know for a fact that I want this to rotate, let's say 30 degrees or 45 degrees, up in the top tool options bar, I've got an angle of rotation field there, if you will. So I could either type in one if I knew it was 12 degrees and do that. By the way, notice it takes on the anchor point where I left it. So if you wanted to rotate around the center again, you'd have to come over here to the reference point, change it back to the center, and then do that. Or I've got a drop down there where I've got some preset increments where I could rotate that. Okay. I've also, next to that, got some symbols that allow me to rotate in 90-degree increments, either clockwise or counterclockwise, so that might be helpful. Okay, and the reference point again applies there. All right, and so that's that as far as objects go. Now, it gets interesting when you start talking about graphics, because I can do all of those things with a graphic. Rotate the whole thing 90 degrees, okay? Or I covered this in another tutorial where you take the direct select and then select the actual graphic itself. Now my graphic inside of the frame has been selected, and so if I start to rotate, notice that my image is rotating, but my graphic is staying the same. So I can use this for a couple of reasons. See, I get kind of an interesting shape there. That might be something I like. Or now I could resize this so that it fills that frame, but now I've cropped it in a little more interesting way. Maybe I've rotated it within, take my rotation tool, I rotated it within the frame in a way that's more interesting to me. So on the surface, rotating objects seems pretty simple, but InDesign gives you some ways that you might not think that to either rotate objects in a way that's just more convenient, or in ways that give you some creative possibilities.